Hey everyone! Welcome back to English Daily Talk, your space for real stories, real emotions, and real English. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Chris. It's really good to have you with us again. If you've been following our C1 series, you know that we like to talk honestly about what it feels like to live in English, not just study it.
In episode 10, we talked about the trap of perfection and the 80% rule. In episode 11, we explored the danger of comparing yourself to native speakers all the time.
Today, we're going one step deeper. Because even if you stop chasing perfection, and even if you stop comparing yourself, there's still another problem.
You might still be afraid to actually use your voice.
That's why today's episode is called The Voice We're Afraid to Use.
In this episode, we'll walk through a real situation where I stayed almost completely silent, even though I had a lot to say. Then we'll break down why this happens, especially at C1 level, and we'll give you some language and strategies to slowly free your voice.
As always, we'll keep the structure you know. Intro. Story told through our conversation. Reflection. Language spotlight. Outro.
So if you can, grab a drink, find a comfortable spot, and let your mind slow down. Let this be your time.
Ready.
Let's begin.
So, let's start with the story. You told me this happened not long ago, right?
Yes, actually. It wasn't some old memory from my teenage years. It happened recently, in a small co-working space near my apartment.
Okay, walk us into that room. What did it look like?
It was a warm Thursday evening. The co-working space had this big window looking out onto the street, soft yellow lights, a long wooden table, and too many plants. You know the type.
The classic Instagram workspace.
Exactly. On the door, there was a paper sign. English discussion night, all levels welcome. I had seen that sign a few times before, but that day, for some reason, I decided to go in.
Were you nervous?
A little. I told myself. I'm fine. I work with English. I help other people with English. I have nothing to worry about. And then I opened the door and immediately felt small.
What changed?
The room was already full of voices. Not loud, but confident. People were chatting in English in little clusters. Some were laughing. Some were arguing about something. It looked like everyone knew each other.
That's always a scary moment. The I'm the outsider moment.
Yes. And it's funny, because my English didn't suddenly become worse. But my self-confidence dropped as soon as I compared myself to the energy in the room.
Who was running the event?
A woman named Sarah. Friendly, open, very energetic. She waved when I came in and said, "Hey, you're here for the English discussion, right?"
And you said,
I said, "Yeah, that's right." But in my head, it sounded like, "Yes, but I might run away in 2 minutes."
Nay laughs, I know that feeling.
She pointed me to an empty chair at the big table and said, "We're just about to start. Tonight's topic is taking up space." That phrase immediately made me uncomfortable.
Taking up space is in...
As in allowing yourself to exist fully, to be visible, to be heard, to not always make yourself small or quiet or invisible.
Okay, so we already know where this is going.
Oh yes, very on brand for my personal issues. Anyway, more people sat down, and Sarah explained the structure. First, short introductions, then small groups, then a full group discussion.
And how did the introductions go?
She said, "Tell us your name, what you do, and one situation where you feel small, or where you make yourself small."
That's quite a direct question.
It is. One by one, people spoke. There was a French guy who said he felt small in big corporate meetings. A Brazilian woman who felt small at family dinners because everyone talked at the same time. An IT engineer who felt small when he had to speak English in front of native speakers.
And you?
When it came to me, My mind was full and empty at the same time. I had a real answer. I feel small when I'm in groups of confident people, and I'm afraid my ideas will sound stupid in English. But what I actually said was, I'm Jessica. I work with languages. I feel small when, I join a new group.
That's so vague.
I know. It was like I took my real answer, squeezed all the life out of it, and left a thin, safe version on the table.
So, right from the beginning, your voice was already shrinking.
Exactly.
So after introductions, what happened?
We split into smaller groups of 4 or 5 people. Our task was to discuss 3 questions. 1. When do you feel you are taking up too much space? 2. When do you feel invisible? 3. What would it mean to take up your space in a healthy way?
That's deep territory.
Very. In my group, there was a woman who spoke very fast, a man who spoke slowly but with a strong accent, and a student who apologized before and after almost every sentence.
Let me guess. The fast speaker took up most of the space.
At first, yes. She jumped in quickly, used lots of gestures, and didn't seem worried about mistakes. Her grammar wasn't perfect, but her stories were interesting, so no one cared.
And you?
I did what many advanced learners do. I became the supporting character. I nodded. I said, yeah. And I see what you mean. I laughed at the right moments. I was participating, but without really bringing my own voice into the circle.
You were present, but not seen.
Exactly. And then came the second question. When do you feel invisible?
That must have hit you hard.
Very hard. The student in our group said something that really stayed with me. He said, I feel invisible when I think in English, but I don't say anything. In my mind, I am there. But for other people, I don't exist.
Wow, that's powerful.
I wanted to stand up and shout, yes, that's me too. Because that's what it feels like. You are alive inside your head. You have opinions, jokes, questions, feelings. But if you never say them out loud, other people have no idea who you are.
You're like a character who never gets any lines in the movie.
Exactly. You're in the background of your own life.
Did you tell them that?
No,
Why?
because the fear came back. All the C1 level fears. What if I express this in a strange way? What if it sounds too dramatic? What if I talk too much? What if someone rolls their eyes? So instead, I said something like, yes, I agree. I think many people feel invisible in that way.
Again, the safe, generic, invisible answer.
Yes. And the irony is that I stayed invisible while talking about invisibility.
Was there a turning point during the event?
Yes. It came in the second half, when we moved back to one big group discussion. Sarah asked, who would like to share something that came up in your small groups?
Did you want to speak?
I did. I wanted to share that idea of being alive in your head but absent in the room. I wanted to say, sometimes we think the problem is our English, but actually, the problem is that we don't allow anyone to see our real thoughts.
That's a strong insight.
But again, I hesitated. I thought, is this too abstract? Will they understand? Is my sentence clear? While I was busy editing and judging my idea in my mind, someone else raised their hand.
Oh no.
A guy from another group said, in our group, we talked about how you can feel invisible even when you are physically there. It's like your mind is full, but your mouth is closed. You have opinions, but you don't use your voice. So for others, it's like you're not really in the room.
That's basically your idea.
It was almost word for word what I had wanted to say. And people nodded. Some laughed a little. Like, yes, that's exactly me. Sarah wrote it on the whiteboard. Full head, closed mouth.
I love that phrase.
Me too. But in that moment, I felt a little sick. I thought, that line could have been mine. That connection with the group could have been mine. But I gave it away to fear.
This might sound dramatic, but it's true. When you don't use your voice, someone else will say something similar, and they will grow from the experience, not you.
Exactly. And I don't mean this in a competitive. I wanted the credit way. It's not about credit. It's about participation. It's about shaping the conversation instead of just observing it.
So what did you do after that?
I made a small decision. I told myself, okay, you missed that moment. Fine. But you will not leave this room without saying at least one real thing. One full thought. Not just I agree.
A mini challenge.
Yes. A quiet, internal challenge. One real sentence. That's all.
Did you manage to do it?
Yes. Later, Sarah asked another question. What would it mean for you, personally, to take up a bit more space in your life? There was a pause. She looked around, waiting. My heart started beating faster. My brain jumped in with all the usual comments. Maybe someone else will say something smarter. Wait a bit. Don't be the first. What if it comes out wrong?
And
For once, I didn't listen. I raised my hand. I didn't wait for my English to be perfect in my head. I just raised my hand while my sentence was still half finished in my brain.
that's already a victory.
When she nodded at me, I took a breath and said, for me, taking up more space would mean letting people hear the thoughts I usually keep in my head. I often stay quiet because I'm busy checking my English in my mind. But the result is that people never really know what I think. So maybe taking up more space, for me, would be speaking even when my sentence still feels messy.
That's so clear and honest.
I didn't even realize it was clear. While I was speaking, I was very aware of every tiny imperfection. I thought, oh, that word isn't perfect. I could have used a nicer expression. That sentence was too long.
And how did the group react?
They nodded. A few people smiled that me too smile. Someone said quietly, I feel the same. Sarah wrote another line on the board. Let people hear the thoughts you usually hide.
That's beautiful.
It was just one short moment, but something in me relaxed. I thought, okay, that wasn't perfect, but it was mine. My voice was in the room. I didn't disappear this time.
And that's the whole point of today's episode. Sometimes growth at C1 level is not about learning 10 new advanced idioms. It's about saying one extra honest sentence.
Yes, one real sentence instead of silence. That's already progress.
Let's unpack this, because I know many listeners are thinking, this is exactly me.
Right. So why do we hide our voice?
I think there are 3 big reasons, especially at C1 level. Reason 1, you connect your value to your accuracy. Reason 2, you're afraid of being too much. Reason 3, you don't want to risk awkwardness.
Let's go one by one.
Okay. Reason 1, you connect your value to your accuracy. If you believe good English, good me, and mistakes, stupid me, of course you'll be afraid to speak. Every sentence becomes a test of your worth.
Exactly. And at C1 level, people around you may also expect a lot from you. They say, wow, your English is so good. So you feel you must protect that image.
Which makes you even more afraid to make visible mistakes.
But here's the truth. Your value as a person is not a grammar score. Your voice is allowed to exist even when your sentence is not sophisticated.
Exactly. Reason 2, you're afraid of being too much.
This one is big, especially for people who grew up in environments where they were told not to be too loud, too emotional, too opinionated.
You think, if I talk too much, people will think I'm selfish. Or, if I say how I really feel, people will think I'm dramatic.
So you always choose the smallest, safest version of yourself. Little comments. soft opinions, half sentences.
But then you feel unseen and unreal, like you're acting a role instead of being yourself.
Yes. Reason 3, you don't want to risk awkwardness.
This one is more practical. Speaking always brings the risk of awkward moments, misunderstandings, silence, someone not reacting how you imagined.
So you choose the safe option. Say nothing, or say something so generic that no one can disagree.
But the cost of always playing safe is very high. You sacrifice connection, growth, and authenticity.
You stay in the audience of your own life.
And that's not why you started learning English.
No. You started because you wanted access to the world, to people, to ideas, to opportunities, to connection.
And all of that comes through your voice.
Okay, let's move into our language spotlight. We'll look at some C1 level expressions and structures you can use when you talk about your voice, your fears, and your growth.
We'll give you the expression, a quick explanation, and some example sentences. You can pause after each one to repeat or write them down.
Today's expressions. 1, to shrink into yourself. 2, to censor yourself. 3, to play it safe. To step into the room, metaphorical. 5, to give yourself permission to...
This is a very visual expression. It means to become smaller emotionally, to close up, to withdraw from the situation. Examples. Whenever the conversation gets serious, I shrink into myself. I wanted to join in, but I just shrank into myself and stayed quiet. He tends to shrink into himself in big groups.
You can imagine your body language changing. Shoulders down, head lower, voice softer. To censor something usually means to remove or block content, often for political or social reasons. But we also use it for ourselves. To censor yourself means to delete your own ideas before they come out. Examples. I censor myself a lot when I speak English. She has great ideas, but she constantly censors herself. Try not to censor yourself so much. Just say what you think.
You are your own strict editor. This means to choose the option with the lowest risk, sometimes too often. Examples. In conversations, I usually play it safe and just agree with others. If you always play it safe, you'll never find out what you're capable of. He decided not to play it safe this time and shared his real opinion.
At C1 level, playing it safe often means using only the language you're 100% sure about, which limits your expression. This is more metaphorical. Your body is already in the room, but your voice, your personality, your ideas are not. To step into the room means to show up fully, to allow people to see and hear who you are. Examples. My body was there, but I didn't really step into the room until I said what I truly thought. Sometimes, stepping into the room is just saying one honest sentence. I'm practicing stepping into the room instead of hiding in the background.
It's a nice way to describe emotional presence. This phrase is very useful for mindset changes. You can give yourself permission to do things you feel you're not allowed to do. Examples. Worried. I'm trying to give myself permission to make mistakes. Give yourself permission to speak, even if your sentence isn't perfect. She finally gave herself permission to take up more space in conversations.
You can follow it with verbs like be honest, be visible, be imperfect, ask questions, slow down, say no.
Let's put some of these expressions together in a short paragraph. That I often censor myself in English. In group discussions, I shrink into myself and just play it safe. My body's in the room, but my voice isn't. I'm learning to give myself permission to step into the room by sharing at least one real opinion.
You can pause here and try to create your own version. Use at least 2 of the expressions. Say it out loud, even if it feels a bit strange. That's you practicing using your voice.
As we close this episode, I want you to remember the co-working space story. The moment when your idea walks away in someone else's mouth, that's painful, but it can also be a wake-up call. So,
Yes, it's a reminder that your thoughts deserve a chance to be heard. Not because they're perfect, but because they are yours.
So here's our challenge for you this week. Pick one situation where you usually stay quiet: a lesson, a meeting, a group chat, a comment section, and say one extra honest sentence.
Not a long speech, not a performance, just one sentence that is a bit more real than usual.
You could start with, oh, from my point of view, can I add something to that? I'm not sure if this will make sense, but the way I see it is,
And then let the sentence come, even if it's messy.
you might feel your heart beating faster. That's okay. That's just your courage waking up.
Remember, your voice in English doesn't have to be perfect to be valuable. Your accent is not a problem to fix. It's a story you carry. Your small, shaky sentences can still change a moment, a relationship, even your own life.
The world cannot hear the thoughts you almost say.
So don't leave all your best ideas locked in your head. Let them out. Let them be heard. Let them be part of the conversation.
Thank you for spending this time with us today. Thank you for listening, feeling, and imagining new possibilities for your English.
If this episode spoke to you, you can always come back to the language spotlight, repeat the expressions, and practice them out loud. And if you know someone who is afraid to use their voice, maybe share this episode with them.
This is Chris.
And Jessica, from English Daily Talk, keep speaking, keep feeling, and keep finding your voice.
keep speaking.